Well, good morning and thank you very much for joining us. I am Yori Folari. Our guest this morning is the Lagos State Commissioner for Transport. Or is it transport or transportation?
Transportation.
Okay, there you go. You heard his voice first.
All forms of transport. So
Frederic Oladeinde, that's the Honorable Commissioner in Lagos State for Transportation, as you just said, because it's all encompassing. It would seem, but I suppose to you, it's just maybe a day at work. Seems that there's been quite a lot of activity in recent times in that whole sector, transportation sector. So we thought we'd just invite your honorable self to come along and explain it to us. I am seeing that 1,000 SUVs. Lagos is going to have an infusion of 1,000 SUVs. Sports utility vehicles? In other words, not cars. The aspirational one that everybody tries to get hold of one. But long story short, these 1,000 of them, could you explain that, please?
Okay, so what the Lagos State government is trying to do is to create employment. So there is another side to the 1,000 vehicles, which I'll come to later. But what we're trying to do is to create employment for drivers. When you look at the drivers that drive for Uber as well as Bolt, most of them don't own these cars.
That's right.
So these utility vehicles are coming at a very competitive price, which the government has acquired. And so the government has put seed capital, which it would get back. And what happened is that cooperative drivers have to form a cooperative, and then this cooperative will now purchase the cars, bring 10% and then pay 90% over a 4-year period at a very competitive interest rate. And then at the end of the 4 years, they own the car. So we're trying to empower people in Lagos to own their cars. And most importantly, what we're trying to do in Lagos, apart from infusing about 1,000 cars, is to give people options. When you look at the nature of the way we travel, a lot of people are captive to either downfalls or captive to their cars, and we're trying to open up the transportation area. So very soon the rail mode will be coming on board. We are modifying the bus sector, so the last mile would also be coming on board. Water transportation, we are expanding our water transport, and then we want to bring in the taxis so that people can drop their cars and then have options to get from one point to the other. So that's the essence of this. And then while we're doing that, create more employment for people. And then the second part to it is that there will be a plant coming that actually manufacture these cars. This will create more employment for Lagosians.
The plant will be in Lagos State?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
So it will be situated in Ogba. In Lagos. And so that will create more employment. And then, that would kick off the industrial sector. The industrialization in Nigeria is almost dead. So we're trying to bring it back so that we can bring mass employment to our people.
That's, just about mind-blowing, especially as you were explaining that it's not so much government acquiring 1,000 vehicles. And,
no, it's not.
No, it's not that. But as you've explained, the drivers is very much in the model of the Bolts or the other, and at the end of a period, they will actually own those cars. So I imagine there won't be any lethargy in the take-up of this system, I imagine. Have you started the processing, registration, or whatever, people to indicate interest, or is that still ahead of us?
I think it will take about 4 months, 3 to 4 months. So
before it can be
before the cars come, because
and it comes on street.
We're going through the procurement process. So the cars will be here within 3 to 4 months. We've signed all the agreements.
So it's when the cars are here, I imagine.
When the cars are here, then the take-up will begin. So we've started the process in a way, and there's a lot of interest. But most importantly, this is not driven by government. This is going to be driven by the private sector. Government is an enabler here. So government is putting seed capital, which it would get back from the scheme, and then would then leave it to the private sector to operate. So from the government side, Ibile is actually leading that process for us, the management of the funds.
I'm tempted to ask, is this a Lagos State exclusive, or is it, because I know you also cooperate sometimes with states in the Southwest, depending on what the project is. Is this any hope that this might become a regional thing, like the Southwest might, because it's a different model. I don't know that anybody else has done this before.
Well, it's a different model. It's for Lagos, for now.
Okay.
And then if the Southwest states want to join, and then, they're welcome to do that. But for now, we're focusing on Lagosians, getting them, creating jobs, empowering the people in Lagos, and then creating options for people to travel from one point to the other. And in the process, stimulating the environment for the private sector to operate.
Indeed, and especially as you mentioned that bit about the plant that will be coming in, there's also an industrialization angle to it.
Oh, yes. I think that's the exciting bit for us. Because I think when you look at what happened in the 70s and 80s, when oil came in, we lost, we lost focus, and till today we're still trying to recover. That industrial era, we truncated it, and that's the era where we would have created more jobs, and then the service industry will now feed on that, and then it will be able to propel the economy. But we truncated that process, so we want to bring that process back in Lagos to create, and that's the only way you can provide employment for the mass number of people who are looking for jobs in Lagos as well as in Nigeria.
Sounds exciting, but as you said, maybe in the next quarter or so, we'll really be in high gear on this whole matter.
Definitely.
By the next quarter. Yes. Also, maybe you could explain, a lot of Nigerians who move around the world would have heard of different lines. You also have come up now, there's now something, there's a blue line, and is it a red line as well?
It's a red line. So this is the rail project. So
okay, that's rail, the light rail.
The light rail project. So let me just bring you back to why the rail is important for Lagos. So currently we're 22 million people. We generate about 24 million trips a day. It is projected that in the next 10 years we'll be about 35 million people, and then in 2100 we'll be 89 million people. The question you need to ask yourself is, how are we going to drive around? How are we going to move around? There's only one way forward, which is to develop a sustainable public transport that will move people in mass from one point to the other, and that's why the rail is important. Lagos is a mega city, and we need to, and Lagos is very small, it's the smallest state in Nigeria, about 0.4% of the landmass of Nigeria, so that's tiny. So the red line, let me start with the blue line. The blue line is something that we embarked on during the Fashola era. I know it's taken a long time, but during this administration, I think the focus is on finishing and then getting it to passenger operation by third quarter of next year. So the blue line is from Marina to Okokomaiko. So phase 1 is from Marina to Mile 2. That we will get into operation by next year, third quarter, and then we'll begin to carry passengers.
Because
so
there's an overhead terminal at that place.
Yes. So from I think as you approach National Theatre, we elevate because you have to go across the lagoon, and then we elevate all the way to Marina.
And that's mostly completed now.
Well, it's that section between National Theatre to the section between National Theatre to Marina is almost completed, so we're about 80% complete on the civil works. So we have to come to the rolling stock, and we're talking to a number of concessionaires who will bring in the rolling stock. I think Lagos State would first of all invest in 2 additional rolling stock. We will start, and then the private sector will then catch up. Rolling stock, that's the trains.
The actual
trains
coaches,
that will move
the trains.
So it's called rolling stock.
I know, but just for non-technical people like us to understand
that's what I mean.
The actual trains go.
Yes.
That's rolling stock.
Absolutely. So we will get 2 of those, and then we'll begin operation, and then the private sector will catch up with us, and then they would now continue the construction from Mile 2 all the way to Okokomaiko. So that's for the blue line. The red line,
that's for the blue line.
Yeah, the red line is from Agbadu all the way to Marina. So you would know that the federal government has started the construction of its own line from Ebute-Metta to Ibadan, and we would be sharing some of that track with them. So from Ebute-Metta all the way to Agbadu, we would share that track with NLC, and that reduced the cost of building the red line by about $1 billion, which is quite huge. So we would have about 9 stations along that stretch. We will now stretch it from Ebutimeta all the way to Uyingbo. So by the last quarter next year, we want to start operation, passenger operation from Agbadu all the way to Uyingbo. And then later on, phase 2, we will then take it from Uyingbo all the way to Marina. So those will be 2 railway lines that will be operational during the administration of Mr. Babajide Olusola Sanwo-Olu. And we're committed to to delivering those 2 lines. Apart from those 2 lines, there's 4 other lines and then 1 monorail that has to be delivered to ensure that we move people sustainably from one point to the other. And that's the orange line also, which will go from Ikeja all the way to Agbowa. That will serve the people of Ikorodu. We have the yellow line from Ota to National Theatre. That will serve the people of Alimosho also. And then we have the purple line from Redeem all the way to Ojo. That would also serve the people of Alimosho as well as the university students. We have the green line from Marina all the way to Lekki Free Trade Zone. That will serve the people of Lekki. And then we have the monorail that would ensure that people can move freely and seamlessly within Victoria Island and Ikoyi. So these are the lines that we have in our strategic transport master plan that we have to put in place to ensure that Lagos continue to move.
But of all of these, because it's interesting to find out that most of us will probably just know about the blue and the red line. But apart from those, there's also the orange, the yellow, the purple, and the green lines.
Absolutely.
All of them. It's all like.
It covers the major parts of Lagos, and they're all connected.
And all of this really is to sort of decongest the flow of traffic in Lagos, because Lagos has its limited, footprint, and as we've been hearing, people still want to be in Lagos. So there are very few, it really takes a lot of thinking to sort of accommodate all of those people. What did you say? Did you say we're close to 89 million by your projections?
By 2100 will be 89 million. So about 86 people every hour come into Lagos, stay in Lagos. So there are more people that come into Lagos every hour, but 86 do not go back. So close to 1 million is added to our population almost every year.
And now, part of all of this is that while all of these are going on, and it's part of the plans, some of them closer than others to fruition. You're also working in some areas like the Penn Cinema Bridge in Agege, for instance. Well, finally, I will say, because that took a little while.
It did.
That took a little while. But now it's been opened. Have you seen the expected result? Because it was also, no doubt, to ease the flow of traffic, the horrible gridlock in that area, especially towards Ota.
Yes.
Have you monitored and seen that the beginnings of a loosening of the gridlock might actually be in progress?
I think there's an improvement, and then over time, with the signalization, trying to just tweak it a bit, just to make sure that we perfect it, I think we'll get better. But I think the Penn Cinema Bridge is very significant because it interferes with 2 major junctions. So the first one is the Agunbiade junction, and then the Penn Cinema junction. So for example, people going to, Ikeja, Fagba, going to some other parts, they use Penn Cinema. And then when you look at the Agunbiade section, so people going to Abule Egba, Okekoto, and Ile-Zik, etc. All these people meet at one point, and then they then separate at that junction. And the quantum of vehicles that meet at that point is what caused that gridlock. And what the bridge has simply done is to separate all of them so that they can go to the different destinations. So it's just like Ujuelegba, where everybody meets and then they then disperse. And so what the bridge has done is to separate the conflict points between the different people that are going to the different areas.
Didn't the Abule Egba bridge in the same axis you're talking about, also address that issue somewhat?
It does to an extent, but Abule Egba, especially underneath the bridge, still needs a little bit of tweaking. So, I mean, because of the demand, I mean, the number of vehicles that converge at that point. So, Lagos is absorbing a lot of...
Abule Egba is actually, the Abule Egba flyover is actually due for some tweaking.
No, I'm talking about Ojuelegba. Ojuelegba. Okay. So I'm comparing Penn Cinema to Ojuelegba. You know, Ojuelegba is also a converging point. So Abulegba is fine. I mean, there's no problem with that. But we still need to monitor the demand that comes into Lagos and make sure that we are able to manage them. And one thing I would say is that Lagos State would never build itself out of congestion. And that's why public transport is very important.
Okay.
So we will do all the tweakings, and then we would expand the junctions that we need to. But we need to focus more on public transport to make sure that it's attractive to people, it's competitive, and then people want to drop their cars and they use public transport.
One of the landmarks in Lagos is the yellow, that color yellow. It signifies transportation, the yellow cabs, the yellow downfall, the yellow motorways. I'm just giving all of them. That model is on the way out.
It is. Because it's associated with chaos. And blue is associated with peace. And so we want to do away with the chaos that we have in Lagos and then bring peace and calmness into Lagos. I think Lagos deserves to be calm. People deserve to come into Lagos and then do their business seamlessly and then get out when they want to.
Whereas I take your point, Mr. Commissioner, about the whole Lagos being as congested as it is, and so you need to take a keen, indeed strategic look at the transport our grid. There's also the whole matter of the attitude of the Lagosian driver. I don't know if you think this is because I suspect that it's not really possible to do some such sort of comparisons. But I imagine that if people would just be traffic rules compliant, we might actually remove up to 25% of the problem.
I agree with you. So that's why very soon we're bringing in technology. I think one of our biggest problems is trying to use human face to resolve traffic, and that adds to the problem. So with the technology that we're bringing in, the handheld devices, etc., we'll be able to, like apprehend people. So we don't need to stop cars on the road. So if you break the traffic light, for example, the camera will simply snap your plate number, and then we'll then run it against our database, and then you get a ticket on the post. And that's why there's a lot of effort to update our database to make sure that it's up to scratch, and that we get the majority of people who say they live somewhere actually living there.
Well, you did say that it is a mega city, because this sounds all very scientific, and as you said, bringing in technology is because it's a... But before you answer that question, someone has called in already. I've got one other important question I want to ask you. Good morning, Mr. Smart.
Good morning, Uncle Yori, and how are you today?
Very well, thank you.
Thank God it's Friday, and thank you for bringing the Honorable Commissioner,
sure.
Dr. Frederic. Quickly, you see, I have said this at diverse fora that our problem in Lagos State is not because we don't have enough roads or we don't have enough, the roads are that bad, but it's because of the fact that when planning the roads, they've not planned that bus stops are a major factor that should be keyed into the planning of that road. I'll give you a good example. From Ikorodu to Ojuelegba, except for the one that Ambode started at K2, the major bus stop is started, which has been abandoned as well, except for the fact that for some major bus stops that are designated for BRTs, we don't have major bus stop. Now, when you look at this, when you carry out a study, you find that where we have problem mostly is at these bus stops that vehicles. First, let me quickly take Ikorodu for a good example. Ikorodu garage, there is no bus stop. Now, if you have to go out of Ikorodu, if you don't leave before 5, you cannot get out. I cannot even get to your studio before 7 if I don't leave Ikorodu before 5. On a normal day, Ikorodu from my house to your studio is less than 30 minutes, but I end up spending over 2 hours because of traffic. It is because there is no bus stop. Now, I've given you that of garage, no bus stop on both sides. When you get to Agric, that's also in a major bottleneck again, no bus stop on both sides. When you get to Owode, Ajegule, no bus stop. My 12, that is a major hub, no bus stop. The bus stop that's on the other side has been abandoned. That means coming into inward and this thing. There is a bus stop there that has been about that is not used. We get soldiers that there is no bus stop.
Okay.
There is no bus stop. So go to Ojuelegba, as the commissioner mentioned, of course, again. Go and see how big an Ojuelegba is. About this Ojuelegba, even about this Ojuelegba. No bus stop in Ojuelegba. What we should do is that, I know it will cost much, that we should probably put some houses down, bring private initiative, to build that.
Wow, that's a packet. While you take a breath, I've got to get the commissioner to maybe react to some of those things that you said, especially the one that looks like a real strategic one about an absence of bus stops on both sides of the road.
Okay, so I think to an extent he is right, but I think he needs to look further to see some of the bus stops that we're developing. So I talked about the reform of the bus sector, where we're moving the yellow buses away, and then we're bringing in the blue buses, and then we're trying to regulate the bus sector. So you will see that we're already developing, we're moving away from the motor parks that we've come to know, and we're building modern terminals. So you have the Ikeja terminal, you have the Oyingbo terminal, and then you have terminals coming up at Aja, Agege, Nako, that's close to the airport, etc. And then we have bus terminals planned for strategic areas. In addition to that, we have started with about 100 modern bus shelters, and then you see other bus shelters coming up. So when you go to Allen Avenue in Ikeja, you see all these modern buses that are being developed, and this will be replicated across the whole
bus shelters, bus stops, same thing.
Bus shelters, bus stops. So what we want to do is to move away from a situation where, for example, in Ikeja, you have 13 bus terminals, and then people have to figure out where to go, to consolidating them into one. And then so you have one major terminal, and then from there you have the different routes that they go to, and all those routes are mapped out. They have bus stops. In fact, they have what we call the intelligent transport system. That's the board that tells you when the next bus is coming, and then it gives you the routes, etc. So we're modernizing our bus sector. And so he needs to look at and see where we have started, and then over time we will then cover the whole of Lagos. So there's a reform going on in Lagos right now.
Okay, I want to pause. I don't want to take another call before I ask you this question. So apologies to whoever is on the line, but I got to say it because I sort of left it to the last. The situation in Apapa. All the things you said about Lagos and the transport developmental plans for it, I don't know. A lot of attention has been paid to Apapa in recent times. But there seems to be concern that there are people working against the best efforts to sort of regularize, organize, systemize. In fact, so I think the authorities were so angry that they had actually threatened that they might just mention names if people are not careful here.
Of course.
First of all, on that particular point, I was a bit concerned that we're talking about government here. Why do they need to warn people who are sabotaging efforts, official efforts? Why don't they just name and shame them and do the right thing? Is it a lot more complex and difficult than that?
No, it's not. But I think the point we're trying to make is that the gridlock in Apapa is artificial. It's something that's created so that people can feed on.
Yes.
Okay, and so people have been feeding on that for years, and then all of a sudden you want to take it away. And so you have vested interests, some you know, some you don't, trying to sabotage using...
Because that very area, Mr. Commissioner, the president is interested in it, the vice president is interested in it.
We're all interested in it.
Lagos State is interested in it, and it's almost like an intractable problem, and here you are, and you should certainly know, if anybody would know, that there are people feeding fat on the chaos. And
definitely.
And it's a bit of a challenge. How long do you think this challenge will last? Because is it, first of all, it was very promising because it looked like work had been done and the place was free, and then it went back to where it was before, almost.
Well, it hasn't gone back to but I think we're making frantic efforts to make sure that this call-up system works.
The call-up system is, you don't come and clutter the vicinity with your trailers?
You only appear in Apapa when you're called up to pick up your container.
Okay.
And that's why we have provided truck parks where people should park, so you're not allowed to park on the road.
Yes.
But it's just like having a cabal or the mafia everywhere in the world. So there are some people that benefit from something, and then when you want to take it away, they'll fight back.
Okay.
And government just has to be strong.
Because there are regulations.
There are
people
regulations,
have to obey rules, right?
And that's where enforcement comes in, and that's where the Lagos State team, in collaboration with NPA, the federal government, and the police, have teamed up together to make sure that they enforce this new call-up system and ensure that people do not park on the road and do not sabotage this process. So it's all down to the enforcement. If enforcement is weak, people will feed on it and then they will go back to the old system. But if the enforcement is strong, after a while, people will back off and then the system will succeed.
Well, indeed, I hope. But as you said, people they've become empowered. It's the only thing they know. It's become a whole, source of revenue for them. But the point is, it's not working for the greater good of society. A few people are indeed, going away happy. But the rest of us now have to spend unnecessary time on the road because of these attitudes. And it looks like government, well, I won't say kid gloves, but I think government is trying to reason with them.
No, I think we're going, I think we're determined to make this work. I don't think we're trying to reason. I think we know what to do.
Okay.
Other people, the political will is there. Maybe it wasn't there before, because obviously when you tackle this kind of problem, you need the collaboration of the federal government. And then the other institutions that are involved. Now that we're all on the same page, I think it's much more easier now.
Okay. Mazi Okorafo, first of all, let me apologize. I didn't know you were still on the line, but I wanted the commissioner to get that bit out. So my apologies. Thank you very much for holding on all that while. Go ahead, please, Mazi Okorafo.
Good morning, Dr. Frederic. Good morning, Sir Yuri.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Dr. Frederic, Commissioner, I want to find out from you. See, Lagos is long overdue in terms of airline. Now they have Aquabom. What does it take Lagos to start their own? And what you have just said now about creating employment on this new formula for Lagos State, what are the categories of people for the employment? Are they school start holders or just graduates or which type of, what are the categories? And the last question I want to ask now. Now you see this Lagos Apapa gridlock is out of, in short, Honorable Commissioner. Government is missing a lot of revenues. A lasting solution should be created for that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mazi, for calling in, and once again, for holding on all that while. Thank you.
Okay, so I think the qualification for the cabs, first of all, you need to be over the age of 18, and that's the age where you're allowed to drive. You must be a good driver, and I don't think, well, minimum school start, but I don't think we're too keen on that. You must be a very good driver. You must be certified, and then once you're certified by LASRI, I think you are qualified to drive.
Okay. And Lagos, from, if I remember, if 10 years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, there were female bus drivers as well. Yes, yes. I mean, it's like equal sex, equal opportunity, you know what I mean? So if you fit the bill, if you match the qualifications, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter, but we like female drivers because they are more careful. We have female drivers driving some of our BRTs, and they make the least mistakes.
Wow.
So
kudos to our women folk.
Oh yes, so we need more female drivers to apply for this scheme.
This is now becoming a commercial for them. Good morning. Thank you for calling in. Go ahead, please.
Hello, good morning, Yuri.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling in.
Thanks so much. My name is Mr. Victor. I'm calling from Festac Town.
Okay, Victor.
And my questions go directly to the Commissioner of Transport.
Sure.
Is areas like Mile 2, Festac, Alakija, onwards, Badagry, are they not part of Lagos State?
Okay.
One. Secondly, the level of crime that we receive in those areas because of the traffic gridlock of the trailers, there is, on the average, a life lost almost every day at Alakija. People cannot access the routes from Festac going in and out. it's like you are going through the eye of the needle. What is Lagos State doing about it? You go through Mile 2, there are more than 10,000 Okada riders there. You have to be very careful because your life is at stake if you touch any of them. Coming back at night or any time of the day, if there is any traffic, they are likely to rob you, damage your vehicle, and so many things are happening.
Okay.
Are these areas not part of areas that should be taken care of?
Okay, Victor, let me get the commissioner to weigh in on some of those issues. Sorry for interrupting you, but let me get the commissioner. And by the way, while you're at it, perhaps as he was speaking, as Victor was speaking, it occurred to me that I wanted to ask you, what's the fate of Okadas ultimately in Lagos?
So Okada, I mean, the ultimate aim of is to, well, for now, we've restricted them to some areas. And then as we bring in the alternatives that people can use, we would phase them out.
Okay.
So that's the ultimate aim.
Okay.
Okada has no stay. I mean, there's no plan for Okada in our master plan. So, and for a mega city like Lagos, Okada is not something that we promote.
Okay.
But they came in because there was a gap.
Okay.
And we would address those gaps and then we'll phase them out.
Okay. Now, Victor seemed to think that some areas along the route he was enumerating are neglected
absolutely.
by Lagos.
So let me just allay Mr. Victor's fear. So basically what we're doing in Apapa is not just for Apapa alone. So it's going to be expanded, and that's why we have the task force team. So we're looking for truck parks. So all these trucks that park on the road, it's now becoming illegal for them to park on the road, and that's why there's a lot of towing going on. So if your truck is on the road, we will tow it, and then we will then we'll just take it away. Over time, the task force, I mean, they're working in those areas. But part of the reasons why we're also focusing on the gridlock. So I was going to talk about the gridlock points. We've talked about Apapa. We've talked about Penn Cinema. And then there are other areas in the Lagos-Badagry Expressway that we're doing. And then the Lagos State government is also fixing that road. So once we're able to fix that road, once we're able to take the trucks away from that road, we can ease traffic there. And then over time, as we introduce alternative to private cars, and then people have options, we will also phase out the Okadas, and all these things will fizzle out. I mean, people are feeding on the fact that there is congestion, so there are trucks who are causing chaos. The roads, we're trying to fix the roads, and all this result in people being stationary for a long time, and so people are just taking advantage of that. We have been in constant dialogue with the Commissioner for Police also, who is working on that. And we'll make, over time, all this will fizzle out.
Okay.
It will fizzle out. So, I mean, we haven't forgotten Apapa, Mile 2, Alakija, Festac, they're all part of Lagos. And they're a very critical part of Lagos State.
Okay. Ni in Ebutimeta, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Yori and Commissioner.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I want to commend Lagos State for massive investment. Massive investment in the area of transportation. It's very visible. The government needs to commend it for this. But my own area of concern is that the revenue, billions of naira a day, that's supposed to go back to the government, is going to so-called NURT and so-called police. And this is making Lagos to be more insecure every day. So what is Lagos State, what is the government doing about this? Because I don't think those facilities are built for these people who is not contributing a dime in the development of transportation and its growth in Lagos State.
Okay, Ni, let me just get the Commissioner to react to that. Thank you very much, Ni. That whole matter about the power of the
LTW.
Well, yes, quite frankly.
Okay.
Because you see, these people are now stupendously wealthy. You see evidence of stupendous wealth. He just wants to wonder, what's going on? Is this normal? Is this acceptable?
So one thing I can assure you is that the Lagos State government is coming up with a scheme which would ensure that every revenue that is due to the state will come to the state. And that's why a couple of days, there was this ticket that came out where people pay 800, and then a certain percentage goes to Lagos State, a certain percentage goes to the local government, and then a certain percentage goes to the union because they provide the service. So, I mean, they are actually entitled to some revenue. Okay. So we are tweaking that right now. And so we are moving to an era where government will get its money up front. Local government will get its money up front. So that system is coming on board. It's something that the Ministry of Finance is working on, and they're tweaking. And then I think over a couple of weeks, you get to hear about that scheme. Okay, okay. So I don't want to release that information yet until we finalize all the arrangement, and then based on that. So, but one thing, I think he's correct, and Lagos State will tackle that, and Lagos State will ensure that it gets what is due to Lagos State. Emmanuel in Ikotun, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you for calling in, sir.
Oga Yori, and good morning, Honorable Commissioner.
Good morning.
Please, I have a suggestion. This suggestion is around the gridlocks we are having as a result of tanker drivers all over Lagos. So my suggestion is this. We have entrances from various states into Lagos State. I think the terminal should be built at the point of entrance into Lagos State, and then these trucks should be monitored from there. If we are going to be releasing them from various entrances, maybe in hundreds into Apapa, it will control how many goes into Lagos main town, Apapa port. As soon as they are loading and they are exiting, we release another 100 from that particular entrance into Apapa. If it's from Lagos Ibadan Expressway, for instance, at Mowe or wherever we have land there, we create a massive park there. It will help us to know the count of trucks that have entered Lagos at any time. We know who is the driver. If there is any crime perpetrated, we can also track it. If they can be given tickets from there, we can now know the number, 100, 200 at a batch into Apapa. It will ease up movement, because we know the number, and we have known the capacity Apapa can take, tell us Apapa can take at a time.
Okay, Emmanuel, thank you very much, Emmanuel. Really appreciate your call, but we got enough of it. I'll respond to that. So what you're saying is the first stage of the enforcement in Apapa. So the long-term plan is to have parks in states like Ogun State. So Lagos State has been in dialogue with Ogun State for a while now, with a concessionaire who is actually managing the e-collab. So we're planning to get a very big park in Ogiri, to be precise, in collaboration with Ogun State. And then Lagos State would then have a big park in Bola Tinubu, that's in Igomu. And then the call-off system, so most of the trucks will be stationed in Ogiri. And if you don't have any business in Lagos on that particular day, you do not come into Lagos. So that's the long-term aim. And then secondly, just to make it even to make it even neater, is the fact that Lagos State has now designed what is called the logistic routes. So you can't just come into Lagos with your tanker and then just ply any route. So there will be a route designated for tankers that leads to Apapa, and then once you collect your goods, etc., you move out through that route, and then you go to the various part of the state that you need to go to. Those that will stay within Lagos will now have to be stripped at various terminals, and then the smaller trucks are the ones that take goods around Lagos. So that's the ultimate plan. Okay. Initially, you remember that we said that we were going to restrict movement of trucks to nighttime as well as the logistic routes, but we're giving the call-up system a chance to work, and then other processes will come in. Okay. Mr. Yakub in Dokwemo, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Chief Yori. And then Dr. Frederic, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Chief Yori, you see, last time that one of the representatives of Ogun State government came to the studio, you know, I give kudos to Lagos State government that day because of infrastructure. Chief Yori, I can tell you without fear of any favor from anybody, in Agege here, when you close to Okekoto, I always pass that place before the bridge was opened. Do you know that when the bridge opened, Chief Yori, I miss road because everything just changed totally to good. So once again, I give kudos to Lagos State government. They should keep it up. But I have a question to the Honorable Commissioner in the studio. And then I would not like you, sir, with due respect, to beg the question. I would like you to give us straight answer to this question. Please, the question is this. You see, we are talking about gridlock, hold up, and whatever. I have a reason to tell you this morning, sir. Something that caused all this hold up, the people contribute a lot to it, is all this NURCW. Because they were stopping motorists in the road where there is no garage. They will stop them on the road, collecting money from them. The question is this. This money these people are collecting, did it go to the government pot? Did it go to the government pocket? Did government even know how much these people are generating every day? Because I can tell you, if the government focus on that very particular place, you will collect a lot of revenue from that place. But this money, we don't know where it's going to. And then they are not repairing our road, but they stop motorists along the road.
Okay, Mr. Yakub, thank you very much. Really, thank you very much for calling in. Got to interrupt you because we got the gist. Thank you. You've addressed an aspect of what we were talking about earlier.
Yes. So let me also say that the revenue is not the ultimate gain of. I mean, that's not the ultimate focus of the government. The ultimate focus is to create that environment where people can strive and then do business and move around seamlessly. So I've described a scheme that will take people off the road. I've also described the fact that we're trying to reform the bus system, where we'll take out the NURTW that you see today will have to form a cooperative, and they will be regulated properly by agencies such as LAMATO. So that reform is going on. And then the ticket that I just described would eliminate people collecting money on the road. So government is aware of what is happening, and government is doing everything possible to make sure that we create an environment where people can come in and then invest in Lagos. So the revenue is not the focus for us, but it helps, and then we can put it back into developing our infrastructure. But the structure, the system to ensure that we have a state that is, where people can come in and do business is the ultimate aim here.
Okay. Frederic in Ababa, good morning, sir.
Yeah, good morning, Mr. Yuri.
Thank you for calling in.
And good morning, Mr. Commissioner.
Yes.
So two things I want to quickly chip in here. Please, those security guys deploy on that Mile 2 bridge or so. Now, it seems to have some kind of connivance.
Could you say that again? Did you say security guys?
Yes.
Along which?
The police, along that Mile 2.
Oh, okay. So Mile 2.
These crimes happens, and they are there, and they do nothing about it.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, just need to turn their face from that crime, assuming nothing has happened, and those boys have a few days. Now, the second point I want to point here is this. Most of this... Sorry?
Carry on, please. Quickly.
So, yes, most of those gridlock costs in Lagos, particularly where there are markets, I honestly don't know why people will be allowed to shade their goods on the road. And that is a major contributor, because anywhere there is market, if you're passing there, is a hell for you.
Okay. So please, thank you very much. Really appreciate your calling in, Frederic. Sorry to interrupt, but there you go. Your namesake there has a number of issues.
So everything that we described, I mean, we've discussed here, they're all interlinked. So once we solve the gridlock, I mean, the reason why you have market on the street is because you have go slow, so people can stop and then buy stuff. But once we have free flow of traffic, etc., I think these people will simply go to the place that is designated for them to sell. But we also have the Ministry of Environment working with the task force to make sure that we get people off, the market people off our road. So it's something that is continuous. The Ministry of Transport is working with the Ministry of Environment as well as the task force to make sure that we move them off. I think we started that process in Oyingbo. That process is still ongoing. We started that process also in Mile 2 some time ago, and that process will continue. So over time, as we improve our junctions, as we move away from too many people being in their cars on the road, I think we'll solve everything sequentially, and then make sure that more people do not come to our roads to sell.
Let me throw in Oh, no, I think I'm going to have to keep my question because Grace has called in from Ajao. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Thank you for calling in.
Please, this is my own experience in Lagos. Let's call the spade a spade. I don't know how they are going to do it. You see the yellow buses, if you want to know, I don't want us to just bring guests here and be running it, sir. Send your people around Lagos State. You need to see the kind of things those yellow buses are doing. You just be coming, they will just stand in front of your car. If you are not mistaken, you will hit somebody. Like yesterday, during that Osho, the Arena Road, there are more than 1,000 that they gave them uniform. They caused a lot of traffic. Even the last man was just standing. He's confused. He doesn't know what to do. We are not saying that the yellow buses should not work, but please, they should be orderly. They should put people that have sense, normal sense, that they are not having anything in their brain. Go outside. Those yellow buses are our problem in Lagos. Call a spade a spade.
Okay.
And say, send your reporters outside from that arena to Iyanapaja. No order, but you just see them. They will stop in the middle of the road. There's nothing you can do.
Yes.
Any mistake, they will start bashing your car.
Thank you, Grace. Quite frankly, the lawlessness of a lot of drivers. Maybe there will be those, you can't say exclusive, but a lot of those so-called that described with this whole yellow bus thing. They do what they will. They don't obey traffic lights. They block the roads. And as the lady was saying, they overwhelm even LASMA.
Yeah, I mean, that's the reason why the reform is absolutely critical. So in a situation where you don't have the drivers registered, etc., it's difficult to regulate. But in a situation where the drivers are certified, the cars are registered, you have trackers on the buses, which is where we're headed, you'll be able to pick these people out, and then you can then punish them based on the offense that they commit. And that's why it's critical that we move from this regime of unregulated to the regime of being regulated. And that's why we need to phase out the yellow buses gradually and then move towards these blue buses that are keyed into our system, and then they're all tracked.
Ni Barua, good morning, sir.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Yori.
Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling.
Yeah, please, I just have a question for the commissioner.
Sure.
All right, please, I'm just wondering about these yellow buses in Lagos State. You see, you see these guys driving without their headlamp.
Yellow buses. Okay, carry on. This yellow buses the commissioner said that, look, they are gone, ultimately.
Yellow buses are driving without their parking lights, without their brake lights, without any light. And you will see these LASMA officials or these people that will be stopping us, people that are driving their own car with headlamp, and they'll be asking for our papers. I've never seen a LASMA man arresting those guys. I don't know what they are doing in Lagos State. I don't really know what the government is gaining from those yellow buses.
Okay, Ni. Thank you for calling in, Ni. Appreciate your call. We've returned to these yellow buses.
Now I'll talk about LASMA. I think people need to understand. People need to understand that the role of LASMA is to keep traffic flowing, and their role is not to arrest. The role to arrest is, I mean, that power lies with the police. So LASMA is there to ensure that vehicles are moving, and where there are obstructions, remove those obstructions or call for help. But we have now moved them into a regime where we want them to be arrested. They're not armed at all. And most of these people that we're talking about are armed. So I think we need to correct that narrative. LASMA is there to keep traffic moving and not to arrest. So we are having...
But they're also there, in addition to keeping traffic moving, maybe to also, you know, help instill order.
Oh yeah, definitely. But in terms of instilling order, so they do that in collaboration with the police and with other agencies, but not them alone. It's something that we're addressing. It is something that I believe that the reform system would address, and then technology coming into play, because as I've said to you, there are 24 million trips that we generate. How many LASMAs do we have? We have 5,000 LASMAs. And then sometimes they get overwhelmed. So we would, there's a function, there's a role for them, and they should just stick to that role.
Okay.
And then we're bringing other agencies to make sure that we form a task force approach and deal with the lawlessness on the road.
Okay, let me bring in James now. James is in Austria. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Uncle Yeri.
Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, I just have a good morning, Commissioner.
Good morning.
So, yeah, I just have few questions. Please, I don't know who is the Commissioner for Environment in Lagos State.
Yeah, but go ahead. What's your point? What's the question?
Yeah, a mega city like Lagos, the sewage system, the gutter, what we call gutter in Nigeria, it's open. It's open. You don't see a mega city like that. Mega cities, you see that the place we call gutter in Nigeria, that is a pedestrian walk through.
Okay.
You understand? But things will be better if they are filled, with flowers along the street. And I like what you said for the traffic, the camera speaking cars, because I just went to pay mine. This is how Europe provides. When you
you yourself just went and paid one. You went and paid a fine.
Yeah.
Okay, I understand. So what you're saying is that it's very, very effective. Nobody needed to stop you.
Very, 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 very effective. When you pay twice, you will know that yes, you will have to slow down.
Okay. Thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate your call. That was,
yeah. So we're moving towards that era where we're going to have, we're trying to make Lagos State smart, and we're deploying about 2,000 cameras. That's the plan of Mr. Governor, and together with the ANPR that we're also putting in strategic places. So we'll get to that point.
You just mentioned cameras. They also have a security, help the security in addition to the efficient management of traffic.
All this, exactly. So all this will be linked to a control room where people can now monitor, and then we know where to, if there are problems in particular area, we know where to deploy resources. And that's important. Now, to address the environment, the issue that he just raised there, I know that the Ministry of Environment has a master plan, and they're beginning to clear most of these drainages, and they're covering them. So most of the infrastructure that we're building come with covered gutters. So over time, we would address that also.
Okay.
So the government is aware of that, and the government is tackling that
and
issue.
That's why he wanted to know who is the commissioner for the environment. Now I understand the import of your question. Alabi in Ijanikin, good morning.
Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yeah?
We're waiting for you. Please go ahead quickly.
Yes. While we appreciate the effort of the Lagos State concerning the transportation within the city, we want to appeal passionately to the government. The company handling the job from Agbara to Badagry is like nobody is supervising, nobody knows what he's doing, nothing is moving, the road is in a bad shape. Up till now, we have not been able, but it's nothing to write home about. And it's because there is no check and balance. If there is anybody monitoring the progress on the job from Agbara to Badagry, the company will have been serious and know what they will be up and doing. But nobody is supervising. That is my problem.
Okay. Well, thank you for the call. And actually, your call was the last that we can take. There are so many calls, so many more calls to be taken. We can see the lights on all of the, whatever they call that thing. So sorry about that. But, that was the last call. Would you like to comment on that?
I think he needs to understand that Lagos State is working assiduously to put Lagos-Badagry Expressway in shape. But one thing you need to understand is that corridor is divided into two. There's a federal government aspect, and then there's the Lagos State aspect. So federal government is doing one part, and I believe that they are either, doing an appraisal, and so that work hasn't fully kicked off. But the Lagos State aspect is in full gear, and then once we get to the section before Agbara, I think the federal government would also kick off, and then that section will be completed. But I don't agree that it's been abandoned. I think that's on the priority of both the Lagos State government and the federal government. So it is something that we're doing, and it's something that we're keen to complete.
We've run out of time, Mr. Commissioner, but I'd like to thank you for making time in your busy schedule to come along and, air those subjects for us, efforts of government in easing traffic gridlock in Lagos, and in particular the Apapa gridlock, which you've also explained to us. And also it's exciting to know that not only blue and yellow lines, there's also orange, yellow, purple, green, all of this. So it's a master plan that at the end of the day should really benefit everybody who has any business in Lagos.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's Dr. Frederic Oladeinde, Honorable Commissioner for Transportation in Lagos State, as our guest today. And that is our program. Please keep up all the anti-COVID-19 protocols, washing your hands frequently, masking up, and safe distancing. Don't go into crowds. Don't even go to parties. Have a great weekend. Nevertheless, I am Yori Volarin. Bye-bye for now.